So the important thing to remember about food chains is that all the energy originates from where?
The sun.
Thank you for raising your hand. Yes.
Sun.
The sun, very good. And so all energy originates from the sun. And so up in the upper left-hand corner, the same thing with food webs. Food webs are interconnected food chains. So food chains, you generally go in one direction, where food webs are going to go in all different types of directions. So we're going to go up here where it says the source of all energy is the sun. And so over here, where it says a connection of food, what? Chains, good job, make sure you're raising your hand. Chains with many food, what paths? Chris? What kind of paths? No? Energy, very good, energy paths. Energy paths in an ecosystem. So a food web is where all of those different things kind of interconnect. And they sound just like that. And I know last year in 3rd grade that many of you read what book that had to do with webs? Charlotte's Web. And so we know that they're very complex and they're very complicated. And so when we think about the important parts of a web is that it's all interconnected and it can be somewhat complicated. So when we have energy, I want you to draw 2 arrows coming down from the sun. And we're going to write the word energy. And so seeds are an example of what kind of living organism are they? What kind of organism are they?
They are
producers. Producers. They're part of a plant, so they are a producer. So we're going to name each of these animals. So the producer then gives its energy. So we're going to add the word energy here. It gives its energy to a mouse. And what kind of animal is a mouse? What do you think?
Consumer.
He's a consumer. Very good. The word consumer has the word consume in it, meaning to eat or to take in. And what do you think mice eat? What do you think they eat? Are they an herbivore,
Yes.
a omnivore, or a carnivore? What do you think, Vance? I think it's an omnivore. So yesterday when we did our food chain, I think the paper had it classified as an herbivore, but when we think about animals, I think mice would actually be an omnivore because it would eat both. They're not very picky. Rats and mice and other rodents kind of eat anything. They like to eat all kinds of stuff. So that plant is going to give seeds over here, but it's also going to give energy to the bird. And so what are we going to write underneath this? Energy. And so it gives energy to the bird. And so what kind of animal is the bird? They are also a consumer. Thank you for raising your hand. Good. We're on a roll now. Consumer. And so the consumer, when we think about birds that look like this, like songbirds and maybe blue jays, cardinals, what kind of birds, what kind of animal do you think they are? What kind of a consumer are they? Well?
I think they're an omnivore because some candy, they would eat bugs.
Okay, they could, you're absolutely right, they could eat bugs, and a lot of birds do eat seeds and bugs, so let's call that an omnivore. And then when I come down here, where do you think this snake's going to get its energy from? Where do you think it's going to give the snake energy? What gives the snake energy? Alexis?
The bird.
The bird. Okay, so unfortunately, that bird is going to get eaten by the snake. And so it gets energy from the snake. What other kind of animals might the snake eat?
The rat.
The rat. Very good. Or the mouse. And so we're going to call this one, we're going to show the transfer of energy. And so that snake is getting energy from either the bird, the mouse. Do you think it could eat something else on there? What do you think? JJ?
Squirrel.
A squirrel. A squirrel could also provide energy to the snake. So let's classify the snake and think about what kind of animal it is. Is it a consumer, a producer, or a decomposer? Vance? It's eating all those other things, so it's definitely a consumer. And we think about it being a consumer, what type of consumer is it? Do you often see it eat what kind of animals? What do you think? Meat. Okay, so all of these things are examples of meat. So what kind of animal is it? Raising our hands. Carnivore, very good. So it's a consumer and a carnivore, yes.
Technically, it all depends on what type of snake it is. Like if it's an anaconda, it will be able to eat the deer, the lion.
You're right, but however, when we're thinking about what kind of consumer it is, snakes aren't usually herbivores. They usually always eat bugs or meat or other animals. So let's take a look at the eagle. Where does the eagle get its energy from? Natalie? The snake, very good. And so when we think about the snake, if it gets eaten, it gets its energy from the snake. And what else might it get its energy from? What gives its energy to the squirrel? Or I'm sorry, to the eagle? Alexis? I'm sorry? The bird? Okay, so we really could overlap this. It could be a bird, another smaller bird. How about another one? Ben?
The mouse.
The mouse? Yep, we could go all the way over here. And it could be the mouse. We know it can transfer energy that way. What else? Ben?
Squirrel.
The squirrel, very good. And so all of these things transfer its energy to the eagle or a hawk, one of those things. So these are all interconnected in this food web. What about an eagle? What kind of animal is an eagle? If it eats snakes, birds, mice, squirrels, what kind of animal is it? What kind of animal? Chris? It's a what? It's a consumer. So I know that it eats all of them, so it's a consumer. And more specifically, what kind of consumer is it, Grayson?
A carnivore?
It's a carnivore. Very good. Yes?
What if the deer and the mountain lion are dead? Wouldn't the eagle kind of get its energy from them?
Eagles don't usually like dead prey. So if you ever see,
There is an eagle in
don't-
Alaska.
there are eagles in Alaska. There are eagles in Alaska. There's eagles here in Florida. However, think about an eagle. They like fresh food. They don't like carcasses. So if you see an animal, an eagle eating an animal on the side of the road, it probably just killed that animal and is eating it fresh. I think you're thinking of things like vultures, yep, and those crows. They like carrion, which is carcass. It's like the flesh of dead animals. It has a really strong smell to it. It already starts to decompose. It has rotten meat. Where eagles like fresh meat, and so that's why they're considered a carnivore instead of a decomposer. Yes.
Vultures and I forgot the other name. We were watching yesterday. Oh, condor.
Condors?
Yeah,
Yep.
condors. They're carcass eaters.
They're
And
carcass eaters, yep.
I read one in a book. It's a cousin of a blue jay. It's ostriches.
Ostriches?
No, not the cousin of the blue jay, but ostriches. They eat dead animals.
They do?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting. Okay, let's continue with our list here. So, where does the mountain lion get its energy from? Where does the mountain lion? Matthew? I'm sorry?
The deer.
The deer, very good. So it can get its energy from the deer because it can eat the deer. And what else do you think a mountain lion might eat? Alexis?
Mouse.
A mouse? Okay, so I could come all the way over here and get it from the mouse. Sure.
That's a lot of lions.
It is a lot of lines, isn't it? What else do you think it could eat? Bella?
Eagle?
And probably not an eagle. Yeah, those are pretty, they probably don't eat each other. They're kind of on their same spot. If we looked at them on the food chain, they would be kind of included as like that apex predator that we discussed earlier. Grayson, what do you think?
Squirrel?
Squirrel, yeah, definitely. So energy again being transferred from that smaller animal to the other animal. Does everybody see that all of these animals can be traced back to what? The sun, but not just the sun, they also can be traced back to a plant, which is a producer because they're the only ones that make their own food. And how about grass? Where does grass get its energy from? Where does grass get its energy from? Natalie? The grass gets from seeds to a flower? No, they get their energy from the sun. And so grass gets its energy from the sun. Then it transfers its energy to deer. A mountain lion can certainly eat a deer.
Definitely.
And deer usually eat other plants, so they might also eat this plant. So the important thing to remember here is remember we watched the video about the wolves and how the wolves being reintroduced in Yellowstone and how they had, they had overrun with deer and that it messed up the whole food chain because there was too many of this and then there wasn't enough of these guys, which are our apex predators, and it threw off the food web. So food webs are really important, and if you take something away from it, it kind of falls apart. Yes?
In Colorado, I went to the zoo and I saw a mountain lion.
Yeah.
And it jumped as high as probably the ceiling.
Wow, yeah, mountain lions are amazing. I saw a video the other day on a mountain lion chasing a guy that was jogging, and I was like, I would hate to be him, and it chased him for a long time.
Wait, yeah.
Okay, save that thought. Yeah.
So, you know the eagle, people, say that it's at the top of the food chain, but in some way, is that actually under one animal?
Sure, what kind?
It is under, the screech owl, because
Oh.
the screech owl actually kills eagles.
Okay, screech owls are tiny. So you're thinking of a different type of owl. You might be thinking of a great horned owl, which are big, and that might kill some eaglets. Probably not a full-grown eagle, but screech owls are tiny. The eastern screech owl is most common in the state of Florida, and especially in Pinellas County, because we have a lot of bugs. And if a lot of you probably have them in your yard. I make an owl box. I have an owl box in my yard. My husband makes owl boxes. And I have a family of screech owls that comes back every year and has babies in it. So I want to stop us there because I want to move to the other side of that piece of paper. So can you turn to the front of your paper?
Not necessarily. No,
Well, yep, you're going to turn the page. So here I'll show you what to do. All you're going to do is fold it back. And see where it says food webs? What do you think you could write on all your arrows?
Energy.
Energy. So that's going to conclude the last part of our foldable. You're going to just fold it and you're going to write energy on all those arrows because we know all of our energy comes from the sun and everything is interconnected. You can write them on all the arrows.